respected dignitaries on the dais, Sri Bijay Kumar sir, Chairman Inland Waterways Authorities, Sri Abhay Bakre sir, Mission Director Green Hydrogen, Minister of New and Renewable Energy, Madam Malali Shankar, Vice Chancellor Indian Maritime University, Madam Viva Dhawan, Director General Terry, and my colleague Deputy Chairman Sri Rajesh Sundarajan. A very, very good morning to one and all. It is a very pleasing to see such a large number of our stakeholders and the various invitees, delegates that have come and attending this conference. And we are very grateful from the board management that we have requested their participation, and with short notice they could make it. And Tuticorin is a far off place, and it is heartening to see that we are all attending this function, this conference in great number. It gives me very immense pleasure to welcome once again to this conference Green Port and Shipping, Chartering a Sustainable Maritime Future. This event is being organized as a part of a nationwide series of thematic workshops and roadshows in the run-up to the Indian Maritime Week 2025, the Ministry's flagship initiative scheduled to be held in October 2025 in Mumbai. Indian Maritime Week will be a global showcase of our country's maritime excellence, policy direction, and innovations. Though this and the other regional events, we aim to build momentum, raise awareness, and foster collaboration that will shape India's maritime future. Sustainability is not a solo journey, it is a shared mission. And today, it is not just an event, it is coming together of ideas, a sharing of knowledge, and a collective commitment to shaping a maritime sector that is sustainable, resilient, and forward-looking. What makes this event especially meaningful is the broad spectrum of participants present here today, representatives from government, port authorities, shipping lines, research institutions, international organizations, financial institutions, and sustainability experts. The diversity in the room reflects the scale and importance of the challenge ahead and the power of collaboration. The theme of today's conference could not be more suitable. As the global climate crisis deepens, the maritime sector, traditionally seen as a pillar of economic growth, is also emerging as a key player in the climate action narrative. Ports and shipping together account for a significant portion of global greenhouse emissions, but they also hold the potential to be powerful drivers of decarbonization, innovations, and clean growth. Today's conference is designed as a platform for deep and meaningful discussions around the transition. Across the day, we will explore themes on three critical areas. First, the decarbonization in the maritime sector, where we will examine global and national strategies to reduce emissions, adopt green technologies, and align the climate goals. Secondly, the green financing and policy frameworks, addressing how we can mobilize the financial and regulatory tools required to support this green transition from alternative fuels to sustainable infrastructure. And third, there will be a panel discussion that brings together diverse voices to reflect on the long-term transformations of India's maritime sector for the next decade. These discussions are not just academic, they are vital. They will help shape future policies, guide investments, and influence the course of maritime development at local, national, and global levels. At VOC Port, we recognize our responsibility not just as a gateway of commerce, but as an active agent of change. VOC Port recently became the first port in India to produce green hydrogen, and with the upcoming 6 megawatt windmill project, we are well on our way to achieve carbon neutrality. Our carbon emissions have dropped by 35% over the past year, reaching just only 0.28 kg per ton. Our efforts to go beyond numbers were implementing shore-to-sea power, e-mobility, enhancing our renewable energy footprint, and have made our port campus plastic-free. We are also conserving water, increasing our green cover, and digitizing operations to improve energy efficiency. Our Harit Shray incentive scheme for green vessels is encouraging cleaner shipping practices across the supply chain. All of these initiatives are aligned with the Harit Sagar Green Port Guidelines at the Maritime India Vision 2030 and the government's commitment to net zero future. Through the work of Navig Cell 3, where our chairman IWSR is the nodal officer, and with the support of the ministry and our partners, we are laying the groundwork for green corridors, electrified logistics, alternative fuel infrastructure, and sustainable inland waterways. This conference is a testament to our collective intent to listen, to learn, and to lead, bringing together some of the best minds in the maritime and the sustainability sectors. Let this be more than just a conference. Let it be a turning point. Together, let us not just chart, but also commit to a greener, smarter, and more resilient maritime future for India. Once again, I take this pleasure to thank you for your presence and participation, and I look forward to a day of enriching conversations and lasting partnerships. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for introducing the conference and rightly pointing out that greening the future cannot be a solo initiative, but it has to be a collaborative effort. Now I call upon Shri Abhay Bhakre ji to address the gathering and share his insights with us. Shri Abhay Bhakre ji is the Mission Director of the National Green Hydrogen Mission, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. In his previous position as Director General of the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Shri Bhakre ji was instrumental in formulating key policies for India's climate change mitigation and clean energy transition, including development of Indian carbon market framework. Yeah.
Thank you, madam. First of all, a very good morning. Namaskaram, vanakkam. It's indeed a pleasure that after many years, I could visit Tamil Nadu, my home cadre, the Southern Railway. And good to see this place here. Let me first compliment Chairman and Vice Chair, Deputy Chairman and the entire team of VOCPA for getting into this green ports and shipping and of course organizing this conference as part of Navig 3. So we will have very enriching sessions, I could see as per the agenda, and you will be talking about green ports, green shipping. But I'll try to focus on 2 or 3 points which offers a great and unique opportunity for India and in particular to ports like VOCPA, Kandla, etc. And I'll come to that in a few minutes. Currently, I am heading the Green Hydrogen Mission, a very ambitious mission. Now, we talk about climate change. Actually, India is a victim of climate change rather than the culprit for that. But it's okay because we are at a position, we are part of Jambu Deep, the ancient, of the most, you can say, flourishing deep among the 7 deepas. But we have vulnerability because of the water, because of the monsoon, etc. So it is a fact that the climate change impacts India or India's culture, India's citizens definitely. But more so because we are a developing country, we also have a huge opportunity. And now these are the opportunities not in terms of mandating our own industry, mandating our own sectors or mandating our own economy to decarbonize, rather than leveraging the opportunity which lies for the developed country to actually decarbonize. And in this regard, when the Green Hydrogen Mission was conceptualized by the government, it was approved almost 2 years back. We had ambitions that because of our solar and wind potential, because of our water availability, including the sea water, which is also available at a place like VOCPA, we are in a position to offer the green fuels to the world. In most of the parts of the world, including especially those countries, the developed countries in EU, US, etc., they cannot afford to produce green fuels within their country at a very lesser cost, which India can do that. So that's the first opportunity. As I said, we have a huge capacity for the national grid. That means you can take solar power from any part of the country, take it to the other part, and that's how we are planning that as part of the green hydrogen, green ammonia, green methanol. We can get a wind power, any of the wind places like Tamil Nadu, Gujarat or Karnataka. We can take solar power from Gujarat or Rajasthan or any other parts like MP and take it up to the point where we can produce green ammonia, green methanol through a grid. We already have, as you know, more than 480 gigawatt, that is 484,000 megawatt of power. Most of the countries which are trying to compete or which are our competitor, they do not have even 50,000, 60,000 megawatt or 50 gigawatt or 60 gigawatt. Forget about their grid itself. Our grid itself can take more than 220 gigawatts. Now, this is the first opportunity. That's why the hydrogen mission has thought about the green hydrogen. The other opportunity is how to get actually the fresh water for the production of green hydrogen. So we have a long sea coast and we can use the desalinated water, and most of the coastal areas are using the desalination plant, and we can straightway take it. In fact, we are even trying for a few research projects where we can use seawater directly to convert the green hydrogen. So even those research are going on. Now, why the opportunities are available with India? So this is the strength which I just mentioned. But the second thing is that most of the economies, especially the developing, they have a very strict target. And whatever may be the condition, whether they like or not, they have to comply with that. Even though the net zero goals have been pushed to 2045 or 2050, still the Europe has a target of 55% absolute reduction in the emission by 2030. And if they want to do it themselves means by producing green energy within the European soil, they have to pay a huge cost. The other alternative is that if they can import the green fuels. And that's why when we saw the green hydrogen mission, we found green shipping or the green fuel for the maritime sector came out to be the most opportune thing. And of course, this is pushed or coupled with the IMO kind of a mandate or something that I'm sure throughout the day we will talk. So the green hydrogen mission, if I can just say 20,000 crore is the government funding, but there are many more policies coming up which are giving, like the entire ISTS. So you can take power from one part to other part without any transmission charges. There are electrolyzer manufacturing PLI available that can help domestic production of electrolyzer, and rather than waiting for our neighbor to send the electrolyzers for the Indian plants, we can have a lot of green ammonia. Currently, we are importing more than 2.8 million tons of ammonia, grey ammonia, for our fertilizer plant. In fact, this is only for the DAP plant, the diammonium phosphate. There are other urea plants which are also using the gas. So either we have to import gas, otherwise we have to import the grey ammonia. The option is that we can convert or at least replace some of them as a green ammonia. And I hope most of you are aware that 3 days back, we got one of the best price in the world, only 50 below 56 rupees per kg of green ammonia. And we are expecting 3 more auctions in the next week. And we believe that what we are able to offer will be much less as compared to the first tender, which has got the supply to Europe, was almost 900 euro. And here we are able to get something around 600 euro of the green ammonia at the production. Even if we include transport, I think we will be competitive. The other thing, we got a very good analysis done, and maybe some of you have done it earlier also. The kind of green fuel or the green ammonia rates which are prevailing in some of the liners who are using, it is somewhere between $1,100 to $1,200 per ton. The rates which we are able to discover now can actually offer something below $800 at the landing, including all port charges, taxes, etc. So this is something, there will be a delta or a kind of a price gap of $200 to $250 if we produce green methanol here and offer to the international liners. If that is possible, this is actually the the most the beneficial outcome of this conference. And that's where the green hydrogen, we are now taking a next step. We are planning for a scheme where we can give a specific offtake contract. We'll come out with a demand aggregation the way exactly we did it for green ammonia. On the refinery side also, I think you are aware, the kind of prices we have discovered, it is something between 330 to 328 rupees per kg. It is much lesser than what we could have it in our competitors in Middle East or even, of course, Europe. It is definitely not thinkable. They are going much higher in that. So refinery also are able to use the green hydrogen at a much lesser cost that what was expected earlier. Now, coming back to the green shipping, so what we need to do is to identify a few locations like Tuticorin or Kandla or many more ports in India where we can actually have a long-term off-take contracts with all the liners who are passing here. As you know, the number of ships which will work on dual fuel, and I'm sure these will be deliberated in today's discussions. The number of ships will keep on increasing. The requirement itself is coming more than 10 million ton, and our industries, even at the present, as per the present policies, they are able to offer a much higher capacity, at least 3 to 5 million ton of green methanol, so that all of them can use this at a much lesser cost. This will actually encourage IMO to go for clear mandates in the future, and also the question whether we are able to get the green fuels at affordable cost will definitely be addressed by such kind of initiative. So as part of green hydrogen, actually I am thinking, and I will definitely come or to either VCUP or Kandla or wherever, when the first consignment or first bunkering of the ship happens because of the green fuel from India, because so far for many years we have been importing fuels for a long time, and this is first time that we can think of exporting green fuel for the other parts of the world, and especially the shipping sector offers a great opportunity here. I'm sure today's discussion will deliberate on these aspects, and I look forward to a great opportunity for Indian industries, for Indian Ports Authority and all other experts to make India a global hub for export of all kinds of green fuel in future. Thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you, sir.
And for that comes storage, transportation, and even how do you dispense that? Because you don't want accidents to happen. And one of the reasons why hydrogen hasn't been popularized to that extent, and we are still afraid of using it in automobiles, is that the responsible use. So when you talk of these things, don't you think there is a need that we all come together and look for a holistic solution? So for me, it is, and that is what government has done this time for under this hydrogen mission. They have tried to look into all aspects of it, but let's not leave it only to the government. It is responsibility of each one of us also to develop those partnerships. Gone are the days when we used to talk about that we need technology, and we used to look up to the developed part of the world that let's buy technology. And there also there has been a major shift, and still now they are not recognizing that we only have one planet to live, and therefore very high tech transfer fee and royalties dissuade many of us to adopt a technology, or it becomes so expensive that we can't afford it. But then there is another thing which is very good happening, and that is, let's look at human resource in the country itself. It's very heartening to see you go to any part of the country and you will find universities next to none. The infrastructure which is next to none. Now, to use anything, I don't have to go to a developed part of the world. I have that infrastructure somewhere or the other available in the country. But not to say that we don't have to learn anything from the other countries. We do. And that is where partnerships, academic partnerships becomes extremely important. You have tie-up with a foreign university, and that is what the new education policy also permits us. The dual degree programs, which are becoming common now. Because what happens is that once we join our professional career, we don't have 2-3 years to go overseas because we are so busy with our jobs. But then through our students, we can gain those particular pieces of information. So co-development of technology is becoming extremely important. So academic partnerships in developing new technologies becomes extremely important. And that is the direction in which we are moving. And so is the shipping or maritime universities are also doing that. And I'm very glad that we are also trying to develop or identify those gaps and work through TERI as well in those initiatives. And TERI has also set up one institute on energy transition, where we are looking into all these possibilities, that how can you make this transition and which technology, which kind of renewable energy will be the best. It's also, if we look at the NOVIC Cell 3, that is functioning both as implementation and monitoring mechanism for a setup of well-defined thematic green initiatives across ports, shipping, and inland waterways. And these includes the adoption of renewable energy, electrification of port equipment, vehicles, implementation of shore-to-ship power, water, waste management, green belt development, conservation of marine ecosystems, and promotion of green incentives. Needless to say that if we look at the maritime sector in India, it is advancing very rapidly. And the good part is it is by greening. And again, India has a unique opportunity because as a country, while today we say that our energy consumption is amongst the lowest, much below the world average, but then it is going to change very soon. Because energy is something that is related to your economic power. So as your economic status improve, energy accessibility is there, energy affordability is there, then you're going to consume more. So therefore, we have the great opportunity of going green, because as percentage of energy consumed in years to come, the green energy is going to be the major energy where we are moving towards it. In the financial year 23-24, 75.6 gigawatts of electricity across major ports came from renewables, which is projected to reach 507.6 gigawatts by 2930. All 12 ports have implemented STC Phase 1 and are at different stages of completion for coastal and EXIM vehicles. Green truck transition is progressing with tenders floated at key ports, and more than 50% of cargo handling equipment and approximately 20% of vehicles now operate on electric or green fuels. Hydrogen hubs, as mentioned earlier, they are shaping, and especially at VOCA port, and PPA with investments exceeding 1 lakh crores. And several ports have already exceeded green cover targets of 20% and 33% by 2030 and 2047 respectively. In addition to core environmental interventions, NOVIC Cell 3 is also supporting two foundational cross-cutting areas, that is capacity building and green finance. Under the capacity building component, it aims to mainstream sustainability knowledge into the maritime workforce. And on the financial front, efforts are underway to estimate the scale of investments required for green transition and to explore viable financing mechanism, be it be public, private, or blended finance. I'd like to commend all participating stakeholders for their contribution thus far. The work we are doing through NOVIC Cell 3 represents a collaborative, evidence-based approach that is critical for achieving climate resilience and environmental sustainability in the maritime domain. As we deliberate today, I urge all stakeholders to use this forum not only to share knowledge and experience, but also to chart practical pathways that accelerate implementation on the ground. I'll also like to say, please share where you failed, because the failures, basically, they tell you what more is to be done, and let not others do the same mistake. So failures are very important for succeeding tomorrow. So please share those as well. The green transition of maritime sector is no longer a distant aspiration. It is a necessity. Let's look at the international regulations. When we talk of CBAM, of course, we also talk in terms of that. Is it something for which India should become a scapegoat? Or if we take it as an opportunity, it is not. There are many players and we are growing. So therefore, we will be able to compete much better than many of those who are our competitors today, because they have the capacities built for transiting or changing. That will be a task for them. But for us, we are building for the first time, and therefore we can show to the world that greening is possible. Let's all work together to ensure that India's ports, shipping and inland waterways lead the way towards a low-emission, resource-efficient and resilient maritime economy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Truly, partnerships and collaborations are the way to go, and the collaboration between TERI and the Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways is an example for others to follow. I now invite Dr. Malini V. Shankar to address the gathering and share her insights. Dr. Malini V. Shankar is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Indian Maritime University and was previously Director General Shipping. I also want to inform the audience that Honorable Secretary of the Ministry of Port, Shipping, Waterways has joined us, and I'm sure he needs no introduction. He was previously also the chairperson of the VOC Port. Malin.
Good afternoon and Vanakkam. Secretary, Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, Mr. T.K. Ramachandran. Chief guest of today's event, Mr. Vijay Kumar, who is chairperson of the IWAI, Tuticorin Port Trust, Chairman Mr. Sushanta Purohit, Director General of TERI, Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director of Hydrogen Mission of the Renewable Energy Ministry, officers of the Port Trust, of the Director General of Shipping, and all stakeholders. It's my pleasure to be here today, and thank you, Sushanta, for inviting me for this event. Green port and shipping initiatives are gaining momentum globally and hold significant importance for India's maritime sector, as we all know. These initiatives aim to minimize the environmental impact of port operations and shipping while enhancing efficiency and sustainability. For India, adopting the green practices aligns with the goals of the International Maritime Organization as well as the national goals of achieving net zero emissions by 2070, a commitment which was made by the Honorable Prime Minister in COP26. Global trends in green ports and shipping include focus on renewable energy, developing infrastructure for handling and bunkering greener fuels, shore power or what is called cold ironing, green truck transition, advanced waste management, which should not be forgotten in this focus on fuels, and finally, digitalization and automation. Globally, operators are seeking to leverage technology for efficient port operations, logistics, and supply chain management. The maritime industry today stands at the crossroads of opportunity as well as responsibility. As global conversations shift towards decarbonization and environmental resilience, the role of ports and shipping in climate action becomes more prominent than ever before. The transition to a green maritime sector is no longer an option, it is an urgent necessity. However, This transformation cannot be achieved through technology and through infrastructure alone. At its heart lies the need for strengthening of human and institutional capabilities to enable sustainable change, a point made very strongly by Ms. Dr. Dhawan. When we speak of green ports, we are envisioning a new generation of ports that are not only efficient trade gateways, but also responsible for the environment. This begins with infrastructure and operations. Shore power allows ships to turn off diesel engines at berth and draw electricity from the port, significantly cutting down emissions. But implementing these systems requires technical training for port engineers and operators. Also, electrifying cargo handling equipment, cranes, RTGs, and trucks need dedicated workshops and hands-on learning. So my focus today in the next few minutes is obviously on capacity building for the green sector. Renewable energy integration is another key area. Ports across India are exploring solar, wind, and hydrogen-based power solutions, as we have heard. But feasibility studies, installation planning, grid integration, and energy management systems all require specialized knowledge. Investing in training for these competencies will ensure that our ports are prepared for long-term energy transition. Another issue is environmental management itself. From managing ballast water and oily waste to addressing noise pollution and coastal habitat concerns, port authorities need a well-rounded understanding of international environment protocols. Training on ISO 14001 and ISO 50001 standards equips ports to implement structured systems for environment and energy performance. Another dimension in this green shipping and ports is policy-level capacity building. Developing green port master plans, defining sustainability KPIs or key performance indicators, and building internal capacity for ESG or environment, social and governance issues and their reporting are quite crucial. These processes ensure that green initiatives are institutionalized, not just one-time projects. Incentivizing greener practices such as reduced port fees for low-emission vessels require administrative coordination and strategic planning, which in turn will depend on capable and informed leadership within port systems. When it comes to shipping, green shipping demands a new mindset in vessel operations and crew training. Seafarers must now go beyond traditional maritime skills and embrace energy-efficient navigation, digital fuel monitoring, and compliance with global emission standards. Programs that train officers on tools like EEXI or Energy Efficiency Existing Ship Index and CII, which is Carbon Intensity Indicator, are extremely essential to meet the objectives of the International Maritime Organization. The modernization of fleets also relies on access to knowledge. Retrofitting vessels with green technologies, whether it is air lubrication systems, wind-assisted devices, or dual fuel engines, is a complex task. Owners and operators need to be supported through workshops, case studies, and collaboration with shipyards and research institutions. Maritime academics, too, has a key role to play by updating the curriculum to include modules on smart shipping, AI, and the Internet of Things, their applications in emissions tracking. Digitalization is a transforming industry. Predictive maintenance, automated routing, and emissions data analytics are not future trends, they are current necessities. Training the maritime workforce in these digital competencies is central to making shipping operations both greener and more efficient. An equally significant area of transformation lies in alternative fuels. The shift towards low and zero carbon emission fuels such as LNG, methanol, ammonia, hydrogen are promising pathways, but they come with their own challenges in learning curves. Handling these fuels requires rigorous safety protocols and high awareness of operational risks. Therefore, training in safe bunkering procedures, emergency response, and firefighting is absolutely non-negotiable. Understanding and applying the IMO IGF code which stands for International Code of Safety of Ships Using Gases or Other Low Flashpoint Fuels, is vital for port authorities, ship managers, and classification societies. National regulations need to be harmonized with global standards, and that requires building regulatory capacity not just among enforcement officers, but also among technical planners and project developers. To scale the use of alternative fuels, ports also need to develop supportive infrastructure. This includes bunkering terminals, storage units, and safety monitoring systems. Planning and executing these projects requires multi-stakeholder coordination between government agencies, private investors, fuel suppliers, shipping lines, and actual implementation institutions. Structured dialogues, feasibility studies, and joint technical assessments are part of the broader capacity building processes that can make such coordination effective. Several ports around the world are leading the charge in sustainable maritime practices, and I would like to highlight just 3 of them. The Port of Rotterdam in Netherlands has invested heavily in renewable energy, carbon capture, and shore power. And what is their ambitious goal? Carbon neutrality by 2050. But then we have the Port of Tuticorin, which says they will attain carbon neutrality by the end of the year. Fantastic. The Port of Los Angeles has implemented aggressive sustainability programs, including electric trucks, hybrid cranes, and extensive shore power infrastructure. The Port of Singapore, the Singapore's Port Authority, they offer incentives for ships using low-emission fuels and have invested heavily in automation to enhance energy efficiency. Finally, I'd like to say capacity building is about creating an ecosystem of competence and confidence. It goes beyond training programs. It's about reshaping the way maritime professionals think, they plan, and act. It's about ensuring institutions are resilient and that individuals are empowered to innovate, to comply, and to lead. India is uniquely positioned to become a leader in sustainable maritime practices. With its extensive coastline, strategic location, and growing economy, the opportunity is immense. But to seize it, we must invest in people. From frontline port workers to senior maritime administrators, from seafarers to shipping executives, everyone needs to be a part of this transition. By strengthening institutional frameworks, modernizing training systems, and fostering international collaboration, we can accelerate the shift towards greener ports, smarter ships, and cleaner fuels. The choices we make today about what we teach, how we train, and where we build the capacity will shape the maritime sector's future for decades to come. Recognized as India's first green port, with initiatives like solar and wind power generation and plans for green hydrogen production, the VO Chidambaram Port has achieved a historic milestone in June 2025 by generating more than 15 lakh units of renewable energy, the highest ever recorded. It will be the leading light for stimulating and guiding other ports towards greening of the sector. The Indian Maritime University is indeed keen to join hands with the VO Chidambaram Port and its partners in this voyage. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Navicel 3 for making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Truly, the efforts towards green shipping and greening our future can only be sustained if we invest in capacity building. I now extend a warm welcome to our chief guest, Shri Vijay Kumarji, and request him to give a keynote address to the gathering. As you all know, Shri Vijay Kumarji is at present the chairperson of the Inland Waterways Authority of India.
Distinguished guests on the dais, maritime leaders, policymakers, experts, industry partners, and my colleagues from Government of India, including the Ministry and sister organizations. First of all, my special appreciation for Chairman VOCPA, Shri Sushant Kumar Purohit and his team for organizing this conference. Sushant has been instrumental through his hard work and persistence in coordinating the efforts of Navig Cell 3. A really great effort on his part. Friends, the global maritime industry, while being a pillar of international trade and commerce, accounts for nearly 3% of global greenhouse gas emissions. As per an estimate by the IMO, if left unchecked under a business as usual approach, the emissions will rise by up to 250% by 2050, aggravating climate change, contributing to sea level rise, ocean acidification, and biodiversity loss. Thus, we are at a very critical juncture where sustainable port development and green shipping practices, these are no longer optional, but are mandatory to protect the future of our species on Earth. The Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, under the guidance of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, and able leadership of Honorable Minister of Port, Shipping and Waterways Shri Sarbanand Sonowal ji, has already created a comprehensive, structured, target-based framework under various initiatives: Maritime India Vision 2030, Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047, Harit Nauka Guidelines, Harit Saga Green Port Guidelines, Green Tech Transition Program, Draft National Green Shipping Policy, and numerous other steps to have a sustainable maritime sector which would contribute to realize India's net zero emission targets by 2070. Within the ministry, Navig Cell 3 is coordinating the efforts of various organizations to create an environment-friendly maritime and inland waterway sector in a comprehensive manner. We are working on many fronts. To list a few, to reduce carbon emissions, we are transitioning towards renewable sources of energy, switching to energy-efficient equipment and transport, promote cleaner fuels such as LNG, green hydrogen and ammonia, electrification of port equipments, etc. The goal is clear: to increase the share of renewable energy in our ports' energy consumption to 60% by 2030 and 90% by 2047 by using all possible renewable resources such as solar, wind, and tidal power in an integrated manner. We aim to electrify port equipments and harbor crafts in a phased manner, 50% by 2030 and 90% by 2047. Another major focus area is shore-to-ship power supply, thus enabling ships to plug into onshore electricity while berthed, which would significantly cut emissions. Other thematic area is to mitigate air, water, and soil pollution by dust suppression, speed-proof conveyors, sensor installations, afforestation, replacement of heavy fuel oil with cleaner alternatives, and strict implementation of ballast water management convention. We are also focusing on more efficient management of natural resources by adopting a circular economy-based approach, reuse of dredge material, efficient water management plan with reduction in freshwater consumption per ton of cargo moved, and rainwater harvesting systems. To preserve biodiversity, we are strengthening our oil spill response mechanism, providing proper oil-based reception facilities, and ensuring conservation of mangrove belts. Another major area which can contribute to preservation of environment is improving productivity. We are attempting that through online port management systems, digital asset management solutions, predictive maintenance using artificial intelligence. So friends, all these initiatives which I mentioned now, they are not just aspirations. In fact, most of these have already started rolling out in various ports and inland waterways. Many of the targets have either already been achieved or we are already on set course to achieve them. Detailed action plan has been prepared for each of the priority areas with strict timelines. Various challenges and gaps have been identified with policy level recommendations based on national and international best practices. We are on course to achieve the set goals in a sustainable and financially viable manner. This is what Navig Cell 3 has been doing. We have been compiling information we have been monitoring implementation with all the organizations on a continuous basis. However, we are acutely aware that no port or shipping line can make this transition in isolation. Public-private partnership, international collaborations, consultative approach, and multi-stakeholder platforms are the only way forward. Whether it is green corridors between major ports, R&D alliances, or training maritime personnel, collaboration will define our collective success. With this goal in mind, I am confident that today's national conference, with its distinguished speakers and stakeholders, would be able to address many of the key components of a sustainable and green maritime sector. Thank you and Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The efforts undertaken by the Ministry of Port, Shipping and Waterways, along with the Inland Waterways Authority of India and Navik Cell 3, are truly commendable. I'm also delighted to share with you all that as some of our distinguished guests could not join us today physically, they've been very kind to join us virtually. Shri T.K. Ramachandran, Secretary, Ministry of Shipping, Ports and Waterways, is joining us virtually and will do us the honor of releasing the video on Green Initiative and unveiling the souvenir for the conference before addressing us. I would also like to inform the audience members that you must have received the QR code that you can scan to view the souvenir. Yes. After sir has released. Yes. Yes. So, yes. So we request Secretary Sir Shri T.K. Ramachandran to release the video on green initiatives.
Welcome to V.O. Chidambaram Port, India's southern gateway to sustainable maritime progress. As one of the nation's leading major ports, VOC Port isn't just moving cargo, it's moving towards a greener, smarter future. Protecting the planet starts with bold action. With the commitment of Honorable Prime Minister's Panchamrit goals to achieve net zero emissions by 2070, and guided by the Maritime India Vision 2030 and the Harit Sagar Green Port Guidelines of the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, VOC Port is committed to becoming carbon neutral by 2026, harnessing the power of the sun and wind with a 5 megawatt solar power farm, 2 megawatt wind turbine generator, and over 1 megawatt of rooftop solar power. The port meets nearly 98% of its energy requirements from renewables, reducing 1,600 tons of carbon emissions a month. The port is further scaling up its efforts with a 1 megawatt ground-mounted solar power plant, a 2 megawatt battery energy storage system, and a 6 megawatt wind power project underway. VOC Port is redefining green logistics. From electric vehicles and e-cars to energy-efficient LED lighting and shore power supply to berth ships, each step is a move toward cleaner, more sustainable operations. Port is also set to roll out green tugs, e-buses, e-trucks, and e-payloaders. Embracing eco-friendly solutions, VOC Port is the first port among ports in India to be declared plastic-free port. Further, VOC Port is also pursuing Shunya Plus certification and green building standards, ensuring its infrastructure lives up to the highest sustainability benchmarks. Green cover has been developed across 260 acres of land, enhancing biodiversity, offsetting emissions, and reinforcing the port's deep-rooted commitment to nature. Looking ahead, VOC Port is spearheading the future of clean fuel as identified by Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. VOC Port has commissioned its Green Hydrogen Demonstration Project, a model for sustainable energy hubs across the ports in India. With investor confidence growing, plans for large-scale hydrogen manufacturing are gaining momentum at VOC Port. Further, the port has also initiated proposals for green methanol bunkering, adding another dimension to its sustainable fuel roadmap. BOC Port understands that real progress is inclusive. Through regular plantation drives, eco-friendly port branding, and stakeholder engagement programs, the message of sustainability is reaching every corner of the community. Under the guidance of Honorable Union Minister Shri Sarbananda Sonowal, VOC Port is actively working to establish a coastal green shipping corridor between Kandla and Tuticorin, a strategic link that will help decarbonize maritime trade across India's coastline. At BOC Port, green isn't just a color, it's a commitment to cleaner trade, healthier coasts, and a sustainable tomorrow for the generations to come.
Thank you, sir. I now request Shri T.K. Ramachandran ji to do the honor of unveiling the souvenir for the conference.
You put electric is handle also. Electric antar.
Yes. Electronic evaluate. The audience members can also view the souvenir through scanning the QR code that they make at the tea. Thank you, sir. Now I request Secretary Sir T.K. Ramachandran ji to address the gathering.
And namaskar to everyone. The chief guest of today's event, Mr. Vijay Kumar, Chairman of the IWAI, Dr. Malini Shankar, Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Sri Abhay Bakre, and Chairman Tuticorin Port Trust, Port Authority, and Deputy Chairman, and all the other dignitaries and invitees to this event. I think the green ports and shipping I think this is the conclave that has been organized by VOC Port. I think it's an excellent initiative which takes forward the work done by the NAVIC cell on green ports and shipping. And I should compliment both the cell as well as the Port Authority, VOC Port Authority, for organizing this conclave or workshop, as you might term it. It is important that green is taken forward, like very eloquently explained by the VC of the IMU and other speakers before me. It is important that we be sustainable, that we are sustainable in the port sector and the shipping sector. And this cell had as its mandate to prepare the roadmap for the future, to look at what was the current status, what were the gaps, and how to go about filling those gaps and preparing for the future. And I'm glad that a lot of work has been done. And of course, there is a lot to be done, but a lot has already been done. As you are aware, there are 3 verticals which we always look at when we talk of this ministry, and those are waterways, ports, and shipping. And today I'm glad that all the three verticals are represented here by way of the respective leaders. And apart from this, the other facets of the cell, the working of the cell that we have been thinking about, there is the need for an institutional arrangement. And we have in the form of the NCOE GPS, which is the institutional arrangement supporting the cell. And we have Dr. Dhawan here. So the institutional arrangement has been put in place. Then the infrastructure necessary for the green sector, whether in the form of RE projects, whether in the form of shore-to-ship projects, and the other infrastructure necessary, bunkering, the hydrogen power plant, the desal plant, the RE plants, etc. Everything is being talked about, being put in place. Then, of course, there is HR and capacity building. One very important role that is to be performed by the IMU as well as all the other training institutions, including research and training institutions, including TERI, is that they have to prepare the sector for this transition. And we are talking about green hydrogen, green methanol, and green ammonia. And all these sectors are sunrise sectors. And while we do have some experience of handling methanol and ammonia, we do not have experience in handling hydrogen, especially green hydrogen, as far as bunkering and transmission is concerned, transport is concerned. And there we need specific inputs on making the modules available. And creating these modules is a task by itself. So I think the cell should look very carefully at how these modules should be prepared. You must get stakeholders on board. You must ensure that you have the right technical inputs from those at the cutting edge of technology. And you must ensure that these modules are prepared, and then these are also used for training the workers or the students in the ITIs and the diploma holders and so on, especially the seafarers, because they are the ones who will be handling it on sea. Similarly, at port, what are the requirements that has to be taken care of? So skill building and HR is a very, very important part. Then we come to the funding. For us, we have had the hydrogen mission. They have funded us quite a lot, especially in BOC Port. We have this scheme which has been launched, where we are giving substantial funds for the building up of the bunkering, transport, storage, etc. So that has been made use of. Then there is the issue of process. What kind of processes do we need in place so that we are able to do this transition? So those processes, the SOPs need to be put in place. I think the cell is looking at them, and I hope that shortly we will have a set of processes which look at different aspects related to green. And there we are not just looking at the hydrogen part of it alone. We are looking at RE. We are looking at pollution. We are looking at waste management. And then there is greening of the port in terms of actual flora that you might develop, and the conservation of the flora, the conservation of fauna, maritime life, and so on. Then pollution control. So the vast land that we have to cover, or the seascape that we have to cover, is something that we really need to be conscious of. And if we don't prepare and plan for the future, I think it's going to be very difficult. Now, the Green Ports Index has also been put in place. So putting in place the green, the indices that will tell us, the tricks that will tell us where we stand today and we need to move. As far as the Ministry of Port Shipping is concerned, we have the regulatory frameworks like the guidelines, like the Harit Sagar guidelines, which were launched a few years back, the SOP for green transition, and the dredging guidelines, etc., which ensure that we use material. Similarly, we have the GTTP guidelines, which were issued and which are now underway. We are having a lot of ports which are going in for the purchase or the onboarding of green tugs and increasing use of energy equipment, energy efficient equipment, LEDs being put in, and so on. So the metrics will be of importance, and I hope that with the help of TERI and IMU, we are able to achieve the kind of progress that we wanted. As you're aware, at least half a dozen projects have been launched or approved to be undertaken by NCOE GPS. And these projects, if they really reach the goal that we have set out for them, will be of great use. And some of these projects have specific targets, like for instance, the one on conversion of every port into 100% green port. So that has specific targets to be achieved within specific timeline. So all the participants in this event, including both other ports who are participating, including shipping companies, etc., are conscious of what needs to be done. The role of the DV shipping is very important because they are the ones who will be spearheading the framework, the legal frameworks. And that is important because legal frameworks we can't really succeed. And so I hope that the deliberations, today's deliberations, will be of use to everyone, every single participant. And here I'd like to mention that this entire thing, this entire event came out of the vision, the Maritime Amritkal Vision 2047, which launched by the Honorable Prime Minister in 2023. And under the guidance of our Honorable Minister, we have been taking a series of steps to ensure that this vision is translated into reality. And that is not possible unless every single actor contributes to the implementation of this vision. And this cell, the NAVIC cell on green technology and sustainable maritime, is one such implementation mechanism that we have conceptualized in the ministry to ensure that all the actors in the sustainable port shipping and waterway sector come together. Aspects related to infrastructure, vessel building, technology, design, and funding, in institution, everything is put together. So I hope that you will be able to further iterate and bring more value to this exercise. And with that, I'd like to thank the participants, especially the chairman, VOC Port, for having invited me and given me the opportunity to take part virtually in this event. Hopefully, we will be able to do much more in the years to come. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for taking out time from your hectic schedule and joining us virtually. Now, towards the highlight of this inaugural session, a message from the Honorable Minister of Shipping, Ports and Waterways, Shri Sarbanandan Sonowal ji.
Namaskar. As we gear up to celebrate the India Maritime Week 2025 and honor the contribution that India's port make towards its economic progress, I feel a deep sense of pride in congratulating you all for the conference on green ports and shipping, chartering sustainable maritime future on 1st of August by NAVIC Cell and VOC Port in collaboration with Bharat Prabhas. In continuation of Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi's vision of Green India, the Ministry of Port, Shipping, Waterways is committed to achieve the goal of net zero in our Prime Minister's leadership. I am happy that the Tuticorin's VOC Port is making good contribution towards the goal of achieving net zero. VOC Port and Tuticorin is the lighthouse guiding India's maritime sector into a sustainable future. I congratulate you all to be part of this conference today, and I wish you all the success Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Namaskar.
I'm sure that all your hearts are as full as mine. And before we begin brainstorming to green our maritime sector, I request Deputy Chairperson of the VOC Port, Sri Rajesh Sondra Rajan, to present vote of thanks.
Respected chief guests, dignitaries, esteemed guests, distinguished speakers, valued partners, delegates, and colleagues. On behalf of the VOC Port Authority, it's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks at the conclusion of this highly engaging and insightful inaugural session of the Green Ports and Shipping Chartering Sustainable Maritime Future Conference, which is held under the aegis of our NavICSL 3, which is dealing with the green initiatives and pollution control. First of all, we are grateful and thankful to our Honorable Union Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Sri Sarbananda Sonowal, for his encouraging message and his ever steadfast support and dynamic leadership. We are also grateful to Sri T.K. Ramachandran IAS, respected Secretary, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, for joining us virtually in spite of his busy schedule and for inaugurating our commemorative video and souvenir. Sir, your valuable message will energize our collective efforts towards sustainability. I also extend our heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Sri Vijay Kumar IAS, Chairman of the Inland Waterways Authority of India, and also who happens to be the nodal officer of our NavICSL 3, for gracing today's program for his and giving his motivating keynote address. Sir, your leadership and vision will continue to guide our NavICSL 3 and the sector towards a sustainable and a green maritime sector. I sincerely thank Sri Abhay Bakre, Mission Director of the National Green Hydrogen Mission, for being with us and also for highlighting the various potential and opportunity in green hydrogen and other alternate fuels that our sector has, and also in the green shipping as a whole. I also thank Dr. Vibha Dhawan, ma'am, Director General of TERI, for her presence today with us and for making this conference special and highlighting on the holistic transition requirements what the sector needs. I'm also thankful to Dr. Malini Shankar ma'am, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Indian Maritime University, for her expert address. Ma'am, your insights has illuminated the roadmap for greening the India's maritime sector. I sincerely thank our respected Chairperson, Sri Sushant Kumar Purohit, Chairperson of the VOC Port Authority, for his warm welcome and vision-setting address, and whose leadership this conference has been planned and organized here today in Tuticorin. A special thanks to all our distinguished invitees, panelists, and speakers, representatives from both the government and industry, and every organization whose presence has enriched this conference with expertise, ideas, and collaborative spirit. I also acknowledge the diligent efforts of our organizing committee, the team from IGPP, and our entire VOCPA team, whose behind-the-scenes work has ensured the seamless conduct of today's program. My gratitude extends to all the media and the stakeholders whose continuous engagement helps amplify the outcomes of such conferences, strengthening our unified pursuit of a green maritime future. Finally, to all delegates and participants from near and far, we are thankful to each and every one of you for your participation in spite of your busy routines. Your presence, enthusiasm, and active participation are what make these deliberations truly meaningful. I am confident that today's collaborative exchange will yield innovative pathways for decarbonization, green finance, and an environmentally responsible shipping industry. Wishing everyone fruitful sessions ahead as we focus on quality deliberations and actionable takeaways for a greener and sustainable maritime ecosystem. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir.